Every evening at lighting up o'clock sharp, and until further notice in Phoenix Playhouse. Bar and conveniences always open. Diddlum Club downstairs. Entrancings. Gads. A scarab. The quality. 1 large shilling. Newly billed for each weekday perfumance. Some dos massenes. By arraignment. Children's hours. Expurgated. Jam pots. Rinsed porters. Taken and token. With nightly redistribution of parts and players by the puppetry producer and daily dubbing of ghosters, with the benediction of the holy Genesius Archimimus and under the distinguished patronage of their elderships the Oldens from the 4 corners of Findrias, Murias, Gorias and Phelias, Messrs. de Corbs, Clive Solis, Glorious Kettle, Pobedio Lancy and Pierre Dusor, while the Caesar-in-Chief looks on. Synod. As played to the Adelphi by the brothers Bratislavov, Hirken and Aristobulus, after Humpteen Dumpteen revivals, before all the king's horsers with all the queen's mum, and word loosed over 7 seas crowd blast in Selelin Tuto Slavzend Latin Sanskrit, in 4 tabloids, while Fern make hold us until Fern make cold, the mime of Mick, Nick, and the Maggies, adopted from the Ballymoney blood-ridden Murther by Bluchin Black Dylan, Otherway's Big Story, featuring Glug, Mr. Seamus McQuillad, hear the riddles between the robot in his dress circular and the gangster in the rogues gallery. The bold, bad, bleak boy of the storybooks, who, when the tabs go up, as we discover, because he knew too much, has been divorced into disgrace court by the Floras, Girl Scouts from St. Bride's finishing establishment, demand acidulateds. A bunch of pretty maidens who, while they pick on her, their pet peeve, form with Valkyrian license the guard for Isolde, Miss Booty's pot. Ask the attendantess for a leaflet. A bewitching blonde who dimples delightfully and is approached in loveliness only by her grateful sister reflection in a mirror, the cloud of the opal, who, having jilted Glug, is being fatally fascinated by Chuff, Mr. Sean O'Malley. See the chalk and sanguine pictograph on the safety drop. The fine, frank, fair-headed fellow of the fairy tales, who wrestles for top hole with the bold, bad, bleak boy Glug, generally about caps or puds or tog bags or bog gants or shooting roadskin generally or something, until they adumbrace a pattern of somebody else or other, after which they are both carried off the set and brought home to be well souped, sponged, and scrubbed by Anne, Miss Corrie Corriendo, Grishon Squala. Bring the babes, Peter, Poder, and Turty. She distributes mandamus monis. After pudernamento, hindred a loven antres. Pulsinellis must not miss our national rooster's rag. Their poor little old mother-in-law, who is woman of the house, playing opposite to Hump, Mr. Makalgon. Read the sayings from Laxdale Saga in the programme about King Ericus of Sweden and the spirit's whispers in his magical helmet. Cap a pipe with watch and topper, coat, crest, and supporters, the cause of all our grievances, the whirl, the flash, and the trouble, who, having partially recovered from a recent impeachment due to egg everlasting, but through and thoroughly pro-converted, propounded for psychological is, studding sail once more, jib sheets and royals, in the semblance of the substance for the membrance of the umbrance with the remnants of the emblance reveiling a quimdom supercargo of the rockery, Popenhaven, engaged in entertaining in his pilgrimist custom house at Caherl home upon Esker those statutory persons, the customers, components of the after-hour courses at St. Patricius's Academy for Grown-Up Gentlemen, consult the annuary Colt Porter's Zibsuction. A bundle of a dozen of representative locomotive civics, each in quest of outings, who are still more sloppily served after every cup final by Saunderson, Mr. Nut Ulfsfinger, Tiff's Days Off, Wouldn't Stop in Bad, Imitation of Flatfish, Torch-Bearing Soperape, Dod Half-Sovereign, Nochi Daily, Roly Polsies, Glen of the Downs, The Gugner, his Gaze Works, his Irsequack, his Lucky Strocky, OSV. A Sharon Shiner and Spoil Curate, unconcerned in the mystery but under the influence of the mildew and butt of Kate, Miss Rachel Lee Varian. She tells forkings of bashfellers under purdah of Card Palmer Teapot Tosspot Madame de Elta during the pauses. Cook and dish drudge, which believes one thing that's, husby the churchyard or warts up the ascars. The show must go on. Time. The present. With futurist one-horse ballet battle pictures and the pageant of past history worked up with animal variations amid everglaining mangrove mazes and Bjorp tractors by Messrs. Thud and Blunder, shadows by the film folk, masses by the good people, promptings by Elenio Vitale, long shots, up-closes, out-blacks and stage toilets by Hexenshows, Coach Meher, Incubone and Rock Narag. Creations tastefully designed by Madame Berthe Delemonde. Dances arranged by Hurley Quinn and Culimbane. Jests, jokes, jigs, and jorums for the wake lent from the properties of the late cemented Mr. T.M. Finnegan, R.I.C. Lip masks and hair wigs by Uide Nuiki. Limes and floods by Crooker and Toll. Cope pipe by Kappa Pedersen. Hood pine hat with 24 vent holes by Morgan. Boss and string bag from Hetero Dethros and All Ladies' Presents. Tree taken for grafted. Rock rent. Phoenician blends and Sordanian doof posts by Shovsoresha and Won't Be Darfed. The oak mulberry ache with silk trick tumesh from Shop Saudi, Seedsman Chap. Grabstone beg from General Orders mailed. The crack, that's Cork, by a smoker from the gods. The interjection, Buckley, by the firemen in the pit. Accidental music providentially arranged by Le Hachet and Lecord. Melodiosities in pure fusion by the score. To start with in the beginning, we need hurtly bemark a community prayer, everyone for himself, and to conclude with an exodus, we think it well to add, a chorale in canon, good for us all, us all. Songs between the acts by the ambiamphions of Annapolis, Joan McCormick, male soprano, and Joan Soslevin, bass noble, respectively. Oh, Mr. Sogerman, if this is what ye do, then I'm not so pleased ye want that bottle of Sauf-Quipu and off nunch de rash verlos mich nicht. Till the summit scenes of Klimbach's Catastrophe, the bearded mountain, Polymop Bertheroach, and the river romps to nursery, Medicins in undeform. The whole thugog-magog, including the portions understood to be omitted as the results of the respective titulars neglecting to produce themselves, to be wound up for an after-enactment by a magnificent transformation scene, showing the radium wedding of Nead and Morning and the dawn of peace, pure, perfect, and perpetual, waking the weary of the world. An argument follows. Chuffy was an angel then, and his sword flashed light like lightning. Full stop! Sanctity, meekly loose, defending nos from prowlabouts, make a shine on the cursed. Amen. But the Dublin self was in glugger, that lost to learning, puked. He was spoofing and spooting, tossing like anisine, whipping his eyesult and gnashing his teeth over the brevities from existers and the earthly lubox of life. He held Kelchi chosen a clayblade and makes praises to his 3 of clubs. To part from these, my corsets, is into overlusting fear. Acts of feet, hoof and charity. Athlete's long foot. Jijar, up here! Amongst that nombre of evenings, but how pierceful in their suggestiveness were those first girly stirs, with zitterings of flight released and twinklings of twitch bells in roundel after, with waverings that made shimmer shake rather natally all the dusk-scented airs and shylit beaconings from behind him's back. Sammy, come on. Mary Lamb, she was shuffering all the diseasiness of the unheard of. Mary Louise and Shosa Penis. If Ark could no more salve his agonals from the wilds of Willy Woolly Wolf, if all the Irish signics of her dip and dump help a bit from an Father Hogan till the Mother Masons could not that glug to catch her by the colour of her brideness. Not Rose, Sevilla, nor Citronelle, not Esmeralda, Pervenka, nor Indra, not Viola even, not all of them, 4 themes over. But the montage stick in the melomelode jar, I am, twintomime, all these thing. Up tighty in the front, down again on the loose, trim and drumming on her back, and a pop from her whistle. What is that, O holy troopers? Is aught given yo? Up he sturpled, glee o' jeez, with such a fling did die near sea. Be me Owen and call me Hugh, and if you what you may call for me, and I will wish you may cull for you. And they are met, face a facing. They are set, force to force. And no such Copenhagen Marengo was less so fated for a fall, since in Glenasmole of smiling thrushes Pat White passed O'Sheen a scowl. Arrest thee, sculled brother, came the Evangelion. Sabre et Couson, from all St. John's Wood to kill or maim him, and be dumb till ills arrested. Et would proffer to his delected one thee his trifle from the grass. A space. Who are you? The cat's mother. A time. What do you lack? The look of a queen. But what is that which one is going to prehend? 6, buzzling his brains, the feinder. The how to say to it is what is, he must who must worden shall. A dark tongues, cunning. O Theo Peril, if yaw plore, the poor lie. He asked of the hooded fire shield, but it was undergone into the Matthewed heaven. He sold it from the luft, but that bore ne mark ne message. He looked upon the blooming grund where only his corns were groaning. At last he listed back to Beckline how she pranked alone so jauntily. The scant for schooling. With not a word from the wordless aether. Item. He was hard set then. He wanted to go somewhere while he was waiting. Utum. He wished to grieve on the good persons, that is the 4 gentlemen. Autumn. And it was not a long time till he was feeling true for him he was good at Persia, and it was short after that he was fooling Mahont to Mahind he was an engine ruber. Etum. He was at his thinker's aunt's to give, the 4 gentlemen, the presents of a corpse. And this is what he would be willing. He pulled the ford, they found the hurtled stones, they fell ill with the gravy duck, and he sawed town with the roast of the meast. Atom. To where by hangs our tales. Ah ho! This poor clog! It was so said of him about his old font-mouther. Truly deplorable, a dire, oh dire, and all the fretfulness whom he inhabited after his Colleen-born janitor, sometime tolerable, with that hairy anklets on him and the bubble light bulging out of his sockets whiling away, she sprinkled his all over with her noses of interregnation. How do you do that lack-a-lock and pass the poker, please? And bids him tend her, lute and early. Sing, sweet harp, think to me anon. So that Glug, the poor one, in that limbo pool which was his subnatiousness, he could scarce of all not know whether his murder had burst a blabber, or if the vogel stones that hit his tin pan was that merely his skull missed her. Missed his trump or midst his fluting. Ah ho! Cecily, oh! The youngly delightsome fillies and players are now shown drawn, if but one, or, if in Flora League, drawn up consociately at the hinder side of their commoner guardian. Her boy fiend or theirs, if they are so plurialed, cometh up as a trappadar, thinking how he must fand for himself by gaze work what their colours were as they are all shown drawns up. Tartan, cachetan, tartan, bah! Doth that not satisfy youth, sir? Quanti perti bellas, here, Madama le fay. And what are you going to charm them to, Madama? Do say. Cindery Nelly angled her slipper. It was Cho Chiny yet brought her a groom. He will angst of the 4 of them their commoner guardian at the next line-up, who is really the rapier of the 2, though the other brother can hold his own, especially for he bandaged it with his hand the whole time. Memen, as simply gracious, me, oh la, and reloose that thong of his art. Hast thou feel liked carbuncly ones? Upon which his poor precocity theirs is a little titter-tit of hilarity. Lad me soul, see! And the word cherry is at-voiced ring-soundingly by their toots ensembled, though not meaning to be clever, but just with a shrug of their hips to go to Troy and half a freak at himself by all that story to the Ultramarines. Otherwise, holding their noises, they insinuate quiet private. Nay, he make peace in his preaches and play with esteem. Werewolf! Ulf! Tupu! So Ulf for his toppy took the ruck made red, as slick as legs would run, and he anchored on his hunkers with the belly pressed, asking, "What's my muffin stuffing eggs for these times?" To wheat, breath and bother and what our curse. Then breath more bother and more what our curse. Then no breath, no bother, but we're a water worms, and shima shalev shom. As Rigag no lena to Mountagnon, what she meant he could not can. All she meant was golden silvup, all she meant was some night's plum jam. It's driving her daft, like he's so dumb. If he'd lonely talk instead of only gawk, as thought Yeatman had stuck his stick all through his spokes, and if he would not woolly so. He, "Speak, sweetie bird, meetsy meetsy, though I did eat tough turf, I'm not the bog doxy." "Have you mon brimstone?" "No." "Or hellfire stain?" "No." "Or Van Diemen's coral pearl?" "No." He has lost. Off to clutch, glug. For what? Shape your rearers, glug. For wheel, ring we round, chuff. Farewell, chuff chuff's inners even. All's rice with their whirl. Yet, tears, who can her mater be? She's promised he'd eye her, to try up her pretty. But now it's so longed and so fared and so forth. Jerry for jauntings. Alibi! Fled. The flossies all and mossies all, they drooped upon her draped brimfall. The bowknots, the showlots, they wilted into woblots. The perlegraph, knew witchily whether to weep or laugh. For always down in Carolina's lovely Dinah's vaunt their view. Poor Isa sits a glooming, so gleaming in the gloaming. The tinsel is a touch tarnished wind, no lovely noise awound her swans. Hey, lass! Wofir gleams she so glooming, this poor epithete I sold. Her bowman's gone of a cool, be good enough to sympathize. If he's at anywhere, she's therefore to join him. If it's to nowhere, she's going to too. But if he'll go to be a son to Francis, she'll stay daughter of Clare. Bring tansy, throw myrtles, through rue. She is fading out like Journey's clothes, so you can't see her now. Still we know how day the dyer works, in dims and deeps and dusks and darks. And among the shades that Eve's now wearing, she'll meet a new fiancé, tryst and troth. Mammy was, Mimi is, minus Colleen's to be. In the D dips a dame, and the dame desires a damsel, but the damsel dresses dully, and the dully does a dulcy damble. The same renew. For though she's unmarried, she'll after truss up and help that hussy band how to hope. Hip it and trip it and chirrup and sing. Lord Chuffy's sky sheriff and Glug's got to swing. So and so, toe by toe, to and fro they go round, for they are the angels, scattering nods as girls who may, for they are an angel's garland. Catchmire stockings, libertide garters, shoddy shoes, quicked out with silver, penny fair caps on pinafore frocks, and a ring on her foaming finger, and they leap so looply as they link to light, and they look so lovelit, nust in a nuptious night, with a slee glints in, and a coy glints out. They rampant a little, a lessel, then romp right round and rout. Say them all, but tell them apart. Cadenzo coloratura. R is rubretta and A is arancia. Y is for yella and N is for grainarin. B is for boy blue and odalisque O, while W waters the florets of Novembrance. Though they're all but merely a schoolgirl yet, these way went they. It the view all the avenue, dancing goes entrancing roundly. Miss Oodles of Annams before the Luvium does like. So. And then again does like. So. And Miss Indles of Eons after Dies of Ire does like. So. And then again does like. So. The many wiles of winter. The grocer's bod she slips her hand in the haircut bag. The lady in waiting sips her sup from the paraffin can. Mrs. Wildhair quick doctor helps her scouts up the causeway. The flashed instinct she herds a tinkle of thunder. The widow McGrave she knits cats' cradles. This bountiful actress leashes a harrier under her tongue. And here's the girl who she's need in cold fashion, and she's told her priest. She's put on a chap. And this last not least, This Rikissime woman, who she writes foot fortunes many times over in the nursery dust with her capital thumb. Buzz. All runaway sheep bound back bo peep, trailing their teenies behind them. And these ways went they, and those ways went they. Winnie, Olive, and Beatrice, Nellie and Ida, Amy and Rue. Here they come back, all the gay pack, for they are the florals, from Fonzie and Pansy to Papaver's blush. Forsake me not, while there's leaf there's hope, with Primtim's rose and Mary May's blossom, all the flowers of the Ansel's garden. But vice reversing thereout from the palms of perfection to anger arbour, tree-rack monotone, scrossly out of scout devotion, virid with wood, what tournaments and complimentary rages rocked the Devlin from his punch-bowl to his Tommy's shintre as he displayed all the oathward science of his visible disgrace. He was feeling so funny and floored for the cue, all over which girls as he don't know who's who. If Gus's Gazius would but fain smile him a smile, he would be fondling a praise he ate some nice bit of fluff. But no guesty reveals the uncouth. They're all odds against him, the beasties. Scratch. Start. He dove his head into Wat Murray, gave Stuart Ryle a poke on the plexus, wrestled a hurry communion with the gillybeg, wiped all his senses, martial and menial, out of Shrove Sunday McPherson, excremuncted as freely as any froth-blower into McIsaac, had a belting bout, chaste to chaste, with Mick ado about nothing, and childhood's age being aye the shame-least. Tell a Tartarin Tastarin toothsome Tarascon Turton, vestim in Tiverus Flamidophagian, imbretlated himself for any time untellable with what hung over to the Macanoki middle from the Macsickeries of the Breeks. Home! All while, Mushmesu is from Mungi Monzi, praying in his mind, son of Everallen. Within himself, he swore, Macnoon Maggotty Mag! Cross of a coppersmith bishop, he would split. He do big squeal like Holy Trick Pat. Seek hell's where from Yank Islanders the Patriots' absolation. Mochnitsa! Jinik! He takes skiff come first, then grain day over wide tumbler, rough and dark. Tailwind bow of the shower, show of the bower, with 3 shirts and a wind. Pagoda permetant, Croco Levante, the Bruce, the Corleone and the Ignacio. From Poodles to the secular, but from the common to the nauter. Bye-bye, Brasilis, I'm breathing. Our war, Dolly Grey, a Conan's dream of Loda circles. He here Schlussavenis. Gilshasser no more. Missionary for the ministry to all the Sims of Aram. Shimach, Eon of Era. Mums for's Maxim, Bands for's Book, and Dodgesome Dora for Hedgehog Shul Mastress, and Uncle Silence coach in diligence. Disconnection of the succeeding. He hull-hog himself for Carberry banishment, care of Pennsylvania, British America, to melt Mrs. Gloria of Bankers's Trust, recorporated. Pronti, by meteoromancy and linguified Hysrogan, quit to hail a hurry Laraker and catch the Paname Turicum and regain that absentee Terry Easty, his cita immediata, by an alley and a detour with fair card available jetrany years. Right for Rovi the Roader. From the safe side of distance, libera, nostalgia, beate lorente otuli, euro prat nobis. Every monk his own castle, where every little ligger is his own ligotenente with inclined jams in full purview to his pronouns and to the deratane of his rarados. Fuis Fenenster, fire escaper! He would, with the greatest of ease, before the waiting mid-hook, by dear home threshold on the raging canal, for other sides of Jordan. Heave a heavy, water boy! Make one of Hissens with a knock on a cow and a chow collations and fire off. Gyrnal, full substitution mulmud, his first epistle to the Hebrews. From Cornelius Slotan, prepositus of Tomaria to the clutch in Antioch. Salvo, ladies and jointermen, no more turden scalds. Free leaves for everybody's, all 10 salmon in the yard, with home and eggs till further altars. Wild primates not stop him from at rearing a writing in handy antics. Nom de plume, goat strap Finnegans, and send Jarge for merry Inklanders. And don't you know if his vineshank is Schwemme, for he is the general, make no mistake in he. He is General Jinglesome. Go in for scrivenery with the satiety of authors in SPQRish, and inform to the old sniggering publishing press and its nation of sheep-cuppers about the whole plighty troth between them. Malady of milady made melody of melody, she, the lelage of lionesses, and him, her knave errant, to wild rose like Gilligan from Croppy Crow Hor, for all within crystal range. Ukulele, Lothers' leave, had days. Nemo in Patria, the luncher out, skilly and carob dish, a wandering wreck, from the Mermaid's Tavern, bully famous, Nazi calves, mother of misery, Walpurgis knocked. Malish, he would bear to untired world of Lyman Cunanolstria, and what a strip poker globe-trottle they pairs with looks. How Hullfellows, his guffer, the Sabbatarian, might faction split his beard. He too had a great big awe in the megafundum of his Tomashunders, and how her Letyshape, his gummer, that congealed sponsor. She had never cessed at waking multers among the Jamisons since the cloft that Meatax dealt her made her microcosm as gap as down low. So they fished in the kettle and fought free, and if she bit his tail about, all had tiffin for thee. He would just sit it all right down just as he would, just set it all wrathfully rate in blotch and void, yielding to no man in him's ignorance, seeing how heart silly sorry he was, owning to the contrition of his bike stool, and, reading of his flesh skin and writing with his quillbone, fill full 9 quires with it for his auditors, Caxton and Pollock, a most miraculous Jeremiah head seemed book for all the peoples, under the presidency of the Suches of Skun and Skul, a had to be held in, thoroughly enjoyed by many so many on block at Boyrat season, and for their account utterly admired by her husband in soul intimacy, about whose told his innocence and the gruesome head's Yorick of his spectroscope, and why he was off collar, and how he was embothed upon by the very spit of himself, first on the cheek side by Michelangelo, and, besons that's, over on the old Jowly side by Bill C. Babby, and the suburbs formule why they provincials drullo egg spilled him out of his Humpty Dumpty Neronin donum. Osco de pesco de pesco de pisco, because all his creature comfort was an omulet finas erbas in an arc finas orbe, and no master how mustard, mind never mend. He could neither swook in, nor neither swim in the flood of socialism, and the best and the shortest way of blacking out a catalogue of all the sorrows of Sexton until he would accoster her comme il faut in tetodos as a wagoner would his mudhilly wizendunk at their tryst in Paris after torments of tosant years, bread cast out on waters, making goods at maturity. Monde Monsieur of Casanuova and Mademoiselle from Armentiaras. Neblo novis nivo novio, nobio and nubi in innovation. Ocitante tempore, he would see through severals of sanctuaries, mewit me might who might, so as to meet somewhere, if produced, on a demi pension for his whole lifetime, payment in go to slay music and poisonal company, following which, like ipsi secumb, when he fingered to foil the fluter, she could have all the GSM she moved after for and records to herself, including science of sonorous silence, while he, being brung up on soul butter, have recourse, of course, to poetry, with tears for his coronation, such as engines weep. Was Leafy worth leaving?
Nish.
Dulf, tree train, Zokra Singh, stone, Artie, reminiscentive, at bandstand finale on Grand Carriero, dreaming largesse of life size over early lived offs. All old setters of the South set their highly nutritious family histrionic, genetic sling with Avis and Avia, that simple pair, and descendant down on veloci pads by avuncular process to Nurus and Noverka, those notorious nepotists, circumpinctified in their sovereign senses. Patries all of them by the gloss on their germain faces and their sovereign eyes like transparence of Victricus. Patroots to a man, the Archimede lavers of his economy world. Remember thee, castle throwing? Once props treed, now stohung baroque. And I'll paint use a plume if ye'll trace me their title to where was a hovel not a havel, the first rattle of his universe. With a tinktum tingling and a next. Gina Paddy? Got a patty? Gossies, give it up? Well, ich is shoma. My God, alas, that dear old tum-tum home, whereof in youth flued port I prayed, amook the verdigrassy convict Valsaldezes, and cloitered for a moment in thy bosom shade. His mouth full of ecstasy, for shing young thing is Sheena from Yorayum across the Timor Sea. Hirpung, malaventure, shot pinging up through the arrowroot of his wisdom, who thought him a foner al, feast king of Shelley's by googling Lovey, regally frethrum, eagerly plumed, and wasput gumboil o'Reilly prods wretched, some horsey McGee plods coffin acid or dark plods gents floppins muggerdy, as thought it had been zobbin into. Holy sanguish blooded up disconvulsing the fixtures of his fees. A pang which his temporary chewer made him a crazy chump of a havajob silly ass. Joshua Crosses, son of a nun, though he shall live for millions of years a life of billions of years, from their rosest glows to their vilest lustres, he shall not forget that pucking Pegasus. Holy hellspells and bloody acres, like nothing on earth. But by Jove Cronidis, seed of Suma, after at he had bade his breastplates for forgetting his bird's place, it was soon that he rahad himself. By a prayer? No, that comes later. By contrite attrition? Nay, that we passed. Mid exorcism? So is richt. And it was so. And Malthus Moramor resumed his soul with, Go Furtius off to Alad out of this, an old Stan song. He threwed his feet up to his ears, rolled his polygon eyes, snivelled from his snores, and blew the guff out of his horny pipe. The hop-joint jerk of a ladle broom jig that he learned in Locofoco when a red-hot turnspite he, under reign of old Roastin the bull-rat skillers. Redios! Why was that man for he's doing her wrong? Lookery looks, how he's knots in his entrails. Mookery mooks, it's a grip of his gripes. Sickery six, why he's biting his head off. Cookery cooks, it's his spurt of coal. And may his tarpit dilute not give him chromitis, for the maui that blinks you blank is mostly carbo, where the inflammabilis might perceive his comparenda with a pure flame and a true flame and a flame altogasser suit. The worst is over. Wait! And the Debonny mag may gang to pieces, with Dinny Fanine, Micanti, ho! In the lost of the Gleamans, Sosimost. For he would himself deal a treatment as might be trusted in anticipation of his inculmination unto fructification for the major operation. When, pip, a message intermitting interskips from them. Pet! On Herzian waves, call her Venus in names, call her Estelle, a butterfly from her zip-clasped handbag, a wounded dove a-started from, escaping out her forecoats. All well for yous, O Doherlint, the poetesser, and around its scorched cap she has twilled the twine of flame to let the latest know she's married, and Pimmet goes backbald, tot burns it so lest, a Clarabelle Cumbeck to errand, hers before his even, posted ear pinned. He's your charge, thank you, Metham. Good afternoon, madam, mind the step. Please stoop, oh, to please. Stop. What saying? I have surrender from to him now, dear mate ashore, so completely till I can get redressed, which means the end of my stays in the languish of Tintangle. Is you zealous of me, brother? Did you boo mighty load? You supported to be the unconditiously rejected? Certainly, lad. Can that sob stuff, Winky Willy. Stop up, Mavron, and sit in my lap, Pipette, though I'd much rather not. Like things are DS is all invincibles. Decoded. Now a run for his money, now a dash to her dot. Old cocker, young crowy, Sifada, Soson. A brand new speedhound. Outstripper us on the wind, like a waft to wing weary, one or a sauce to a coast guard. For directly with his whoop, stop and an epilepsy didando atishi in appreciable less time than it takes a glaciator to submerge her an Atlanthes. Was he again a gob before the trembly ones, a spark's gap off, double das Gest, got an orlop in a simple sailor maid and shaking the storm out of his hiccups. The smartest vessel you could find would lazily him on her knee as her lucky for the Rio Grande. He's a pigtail tar, and if he hadn't got it toothache, he'd a telltale tall of his picture on a wall with his voucher in the papers for cutting mutton legs and capers, letting out he'd just be japers and his tail cooked up. Goal! It's won by its length. Angelina's, hide from light those hues that your sin bow may bring to light. Though down to your dower strip he's bent to knee, he mount no leggings here. For a haunting way we'll go, and you need not make your mow. Bind the fringe for frocks, and translate it into shocks of such as touch with show and show. He is guessing at hers for all he is worse, the seagoer. Hark to his wily geese's goosling pie, and play fair, lady. And note that they who will for exile say can for dog, while them that won't leave Ingle End says now for no. For he falters how he hates to trouble them without. But leaving Codhead's mitre and the heron's plumes sinistrant to the server of servants and wrecks of regums, and making a balderdash for lubberty of speech, he asks not have you seen a match being struck, nor is this powder mine, but, letting pun plays pass to earnest, haps the genio Fergs? Now, haps the Majonties? No. Haps the per causes nuncibellis? No. Aski, get on, Nikako, get! Ping and ping, nun ping pon punk. And he did a get their annoyance, and slink his hook away. El queer cum aliquer, like a chimista in chamasus, whom the heracana hurries and hotsfoots, zingo, zango, zigger. 2 hoots of Erskat, Urquard, Jamal, Quim, Yela, Yuwash, Yak! For he could chiapachi opacho upon a scorp snack of pure undefallen Engelsk, melon moon or torta tortoise, sokisaki or soapy soapon, as rascally and as baskly as your cheese chalk cow could Spanish. Makoto, wagta crealde, gele gala nosi is, yet right divining do not was. Havabovo halfagate hoki dematzi in kamecha. He had his spirits all fallen on him. To vet, most gripously, he was bedazzled and debozzled. He had his tristiest cavalier on, and looked like Brody Hal, a shelling, a cockshy, and be donkey shot at, or a peso besant to join the armada. But, sin Chopinza, could any brody which walked this world with eyes wide open have looked twinsomer than the curl he left behind him? Candidatus, Viridosus, Aurelius, Senelab? Of all the green heroes ever wore cotton breeches, the whitemost, the goldenest, how he stood theirs with himselves mookst kevinly. And that anti-revolutionary, the churchman childfather from Tonsur's tuft to Ulmunder's toes, a hagiography in duo trigesomy, son soptimost of Sire Sixtusks, of Maya Queenius Sinosure, heavenly body time, enwreathed of his near sissies, a mickly, dazzly, eely oily with Luisi Carals, a Solnetzer by Zvezda's priestess, there trailed attractive, and dim dandy pennies knows the play of the eyelids, with his gamecock's spurts and his smile like quid glue, the sauciest sorir ever weanling wore. Whiles his host of spreeties, loose pillar in their knees, they went pea-hinning a rapid path around him, pilgrim princeps Carolar Kavanagh in Eucharistic congratulations, quite purringly excited, alluding to him by all the nicknames in the litany with the terms in which no Dulcie Nair ever thinks about implying except to her future's year, and sending him perfume most prey-puffs to satisfy more than to tease him. Shall we help, now you've mass-muled, you to recollect a bit, Yismik, Yemissy? That he, the fine-hued, the fair-held, the far-ahead, might woot a save unto every but everyone, as far as Safras Durstasun, the have mercy on hers of his kiss your license. Meanings. Endure the injurious till imbetter. We know you like Latin with S's and pures, and your liber as they see. We certainly like gurgles love the nurgly garglies so. Arabiji, tell that old Frankie Boyok to bellows up the tumbucky in his tum-tum or gun and give us a gust of his gushy old goof. Hymn number 29. Oh, the singing! Happy little girlie comes to have adulted such an Adelphis. Oh, the swinging hop-ups so golden. They've come to chant in chor. They say their salat, their maidens' prayer to the messenger of his nabis, prostituting themselves eachwise and combinedly. Fetha, fold the hands. Be it honoured, bow the head. May thine evenings in be blissful, even of bliss, as we so hope for ablution, for the sake of the farbung and of the scent and of the holio drops. Amems. A pause. Their orison arises misk-white as Osman glory, ebbing westward, leaves to the soul of light its fading silence. A-la-la-la-la-la, a turquoised sky. Then, Xanthos, 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 we thank to thine, mighty innocent, that didst bring it off foot. Should in after years it became about you will after desk job duty becoming a bank midland mansioner, we and I shall reside with our obeisant servants among Burke's mobility at La Roseraie, Aylesbury Road. Red bricks are all hellishly good values if you trust the roster of ads, but we'll save up ourselves and nap what's nicest and boskiest of timber trees in the neighbourhood. On Kale's plot. Lucump oaks, Turkish hazels, Greek firs, incense palm, etc. The hypsometers of Mount Anvil is held to be dying out of arthataxis, but praise St. Lerix O'Thul, the wick elm of Manilaw is still flourishing in the open because it's native of our nature and the seeds was sent by fortune. We'll have our private pallipeachum pillar posterns for lovesick letterines fondly affianced to our front railings and swings, hammocks, tight-taut ballot lines, accommodation nooks, and prismic bathboites to make envy eyes mouthwater and wonder when they binocular us from their embrasured windows in our garden rare. Fiat shall be our number on the Otto Kenneton, and Chubby in his chuffs ours for only chauffeur. Tea will be waiting for uns as I sold you at the first entries. Our cousin Gourmand, Percy, the pup, will denounce the sniff-nomers of all colours, where among our Simai's sister, Tabitha, the nine-lived, will extend to the full her hearty welcome, while the turf and twigs they tattle. Tintin, Tintin. Lady Marmella Shortbread will walk in for supper with her marchpane switch on, her necklace of almonds and her Poirette Sunday dress with bracelets of honey and her cochineal hose with the caramel dancings, the briskly best from Booty's town, and her sucking staff of ivory mint. You mustn't miss it or you'll be sorry. Charmoses sloes, glistering jewels, Lydia light fans and perfumed cigarettes, and the Prince Lemonade has been graciously pleased. His 6 chocolate pages will run bugling before him and cocoa cream turtle after with his stick sword and a pink cushion. We think his sparkling headiness ought to know Lady Marmella. Louisum his for Lissum hers. He's not going to Cork till Cantalamess or Mayhope till Rose Eater or St. Tibble's Day. So Neoman knows. The foremore's in his fin, the moremore's her and hin. A paralone, and Dublin's all a din. We'll sing a song of single month, and you'll too, and you'll... Here are notes. There's the key. 1, 2, 3. Chores! So come on, ye wealthy gentrymen, ribproof full of fun. Thin. Thij Ollie and Thel Ively, thou Billy with thee coo, for to jog a jig of crispiness nice and sing a missile too. Hip shampooray! Hip shampooray! Oh, you long-tailed blackman, polk it up behind me. Hip shampooray! Hip shampooray! And, Jassies, push the pump kick round. Hallelujah! Since the days of Romalos and Ramos, the Pavanos have been strident through their struts of Chapelle de Soute. The Vulsies have mead and yodeled through the pearly ooze of Ballybo. Many a mimsy cloudy has tripped taintily along that Hercourt strayed railway, and the Rigadoons have held ragtimed revels on the plateau plain of Grangegorman. And, though since then sterlings and guineas have been replaced by brooks and lions, and some progress has been made on stilts, and the races have come and gone, and Thyme, that chief of seasoners, has made his usual astute use of indigestibles, and what not will be is nor was. Those Dansadales and Cancanzanes have come stimmering down for our begayment through the bedeftdom of Poe's tayorns, the obsessity of Pa's teapox, as lithe and limb-free limber as when mummy mummed at ma. Just so styled with the nates are their flower heads now, and each of all has a love-stock unto herself, and the tot of all the tits of their understamens is as open as he can posibly she, and is tournesoled straight-cutter side-waist, accordant to the corsets of things feminite, to woowards him in heliolatry, so they may catch cop in their calizetis. Als they go tropping, those parachutes from his musculone pistol, for he can eye-spy through them to their self-colours, never the least their tissue peepers, meaning mulberry mesh, the time of appling flowers, a guarded figure of speech, a variety of perfume, a bride owl, seemest in so one. As likely as seesaw. Oh my good miss! Oh my great miss! Oh my prized Leslie precious! While, dutifully as dim dumbbells, all a listen to his elixir. Lovelit. And they said to him, Enchanted, dear sweet Stanislas, young confessor, dearer dearest, we hear about a bloss, O Carly Cola, thee salutant, pattern of our unschooled, pageant master, deliverer of soft missives, round the world in 40 mails, bag, belt, and balmy beam, our Barnaboy, our chap, with that pan-pipe in your put-away, gab borab, when you will be after doing all your sightseeing and sound-hearing and smell-sniffing and tasty-tasting and tinderum-stochings in all Danigal, send us your adorables, thou overblessed, a wives and letters play of all you conceive, chief Celtic chappie. From your holy post, now you hast ascertained ceremonially our names. Unclean you art not, outcast thou art not. Leper's Tower, the Carmen's Loki, has not blanched at our pollution, and your intercourse at 90 leg splits does not defile. Untouchable is not the scare crown is on you. You are pure. You are pure. You are in your puerity. You have not brought stinking members into the house of Amante. Eleb inum, titep notep, we name them to the hall of honor. Your head has been touched by the god Inel Ra, and your face has been brightened by the goddess Arok Itok. Return, scented youngling, and walk once more among us. The rains of Dimane are massical as of yere, and Baraza is all a flower, saker of calmy days, as shiver as shower can be. Our breed and better class is in brood and bitter pass, levy cleath lungs, but we're counting on the clock. The great cackler comes again. Sweet staker, able lord of all our Heloise, we, to be slightly more familiar perhaps than is slightly more than necessary. Totus Philomelas as well as Magdalenes were draw pairs with 2 pin marks, BVD and BVD dot. So want lotteries of ticklets post hastum, you appreciate? So as to be very dainty, if an is a spell, and so as to be verily dandy-dainty, if an ishibilly, of and on, to and for, by and with, from you. Let the hitback hurry his wayward ear, the missive has time to take herself off. 'Twill be oether more wilfully intomeat if the coming offence can send our shudders before. We fame to have being elfware as though had pafst in our fuffpins. Next to our shrinking selves we love sensitivas best, for they are the angeles. Brick, fove, jonquil, sprig, fleet, nocturne, smiling bruise, for they are an angeles garment. We will be constant, what a word, and bless the day, for whole hours too, yes, for so long sign as we shall be hing in our creative being of ours elvishness, the day you befell, you dreadful temptation. Now promise us, as at our requested, you will remain ignorant of all what you hear, and, though if whilst disrobing to the edge of risk, the bicyfings and idle hours that satin finds to draw a veil till we next time. You don't want to peach, but be jimmed if ye do. Perhaps we ernst too may. How many months or how many years till the myriad and first become?
Bashfulness be tucked. May he culp her, may he mix and misculp her.
Talk with a hare and you wake of a tartars. That's moose, says the law. List. Kiki Lacey, the pervigind, and Bianca Mutantini, her conversa, drew their fool's length finished first, Herzog van Velentum. But me and me other Raven, my cousin of mine, have mair good 3 chancers, we others, after Bonaparte's. The mything smile of me, my wholesale assumption, she's nought without as whim twin here within, that I love like my selfish, like Smithereens' robin songs, like Jones's nuts lost, like the blue of the sky if I stoop for to spies between my white columns. How their duel makes their trail! Ears wax for Sir Sword, dung bullets for the Irish riflers, queem swelth of cockum in their combs for the Jenny Joes. Cero caressimus, honey swarms were mellispons. Will be albazi one another minis for the mere effect that you are so full of pulling yourself. Tio mio, der dower, we feel unspeechably thoughtless over it all here in Gizzy Gazelle Tark's Bimblewood, so please kindly communicate with the usual sense we are only yearning as yet how to burgeon. It's meant millions of sentiments dead lost or mislaid on them, but, Master of Snakes, we can slow change in the nip of a napple so long as we can all see for deed setting your quick. By the hook in your look were eyed for eye, were you begging the question with your Lutean bull round monk messerag. And whenever you're tingling in your trout, we're sure to be tangled in our tisements. It's game, ma chere. Be off with your shepherd dress on. Up some cowda. Behold our handmaids for the lured. To these nunts we are but yours in amateurs, yet well come that day we shall up to be ours. Then shalt we see, seeing the sight. No more hawk sights, nae more gifting in menage. A hers fancy for a his friend, and then that fellow yours after this follow ours. Venia vaniorum, domne venias. High time is up, be it down into outs according. When there shall be foods for vermin as full as feeds for the fat, eat on earth as there's hot in oven. When every clitty of a sculdery maid shall hold every yard scullion's right to stim her uprect for whimsomever, whether on privates, whether in publics, and when all us Romance Cathalines shall have once for all emancipated, and the world is made free. Methinks, so much for his Magnus the man, and all his begettings. So till coquette to tell cocotte to teach Connie Curly to touch catty hair and tip Carminia to tap La Cherie, though where the diggings he dwellst among us here's nobody knows save Mary. Why for we go wringing hands in giro rondo. Those bright elects, consent consorted, they were waltzing up their willside with their princesome handsome Angeline Sheoff, while in those wearables their wont bears way. Meering unknown, a place where pigeons carry fire to seethe viands, a miry hill, bilge end sore footh. Oaths and screams and bally groans with a belchy bob hub and a hella below bedimmed and bedabbled the remaining lucisphere. Hell's dend, wild sells. London's breach lay fouland up uncouth not be brushed by puns and riddles. Yet the ring gate runned rorosely with a drat for a brat you. Yasha Yash ate sausage and mash, so he found he bash, poor Yasha Yash, and you wanna make one of our picnic party. No honor request on our special list, for poor Glugger was dazed and late in his grave, aye he laid in his grave. But lo, boys, lo, he rises, shrivering, with his spitty-filled eyes, and his hoofs become worse. Hebitha, sees a miss. Examine of conscious scruples now he to the best of his memory Shimado, nu mir forever siding on the stolen, with his tumasinquinance in the thight of his tombstool. No more singing all the dags in his singing, expersely at hand counterhand. Trinitatis kink had muddled his dome, pecket and pint for pre. Him serf, Munjaul, maiden, born of thug tribe into brood blackmail, duly redicant all begenesis henesis. He, by blechend mocked of the gulls, proffer him penance and come off internatural. He, self-sufficiencer, excommunter in chaff sporticularissimo, what though the just throws in his lava-bad eyes, make to make polente rosum. Good Savor's queen with a stem of swooth aftrek, fit for king of Zundus. Out of Biaconis, hiking a hake like any nudge me rough go rude all over terracotta. No more throw acids, face all lovabilities, appeal for the union and play fraternities. He praise St. Calambarnus, make clean breast sack of goody girl now as ever drank milk sop from a spoon, weed-hearted boy of potter and mudder, chip of old Flynn the flinter, twig of the hider that tanned him. He go calabush all same, he tell him out. Tough love man, he strip him all mussy calico blung him all same, he tell him all out how he make what name. He, through volcanic connection, relation belong this remarkable molly man, anax androm, pearly gluten, pure blood, Jebusite, century procent ersrom spoking, drug malt storhius, in trance on back, most open on the ladies. He, in pitchskin shantongs, possible, sooth to say, notwithstanding far former gals to be gaining fish considerable, by saving grace after avalanche, to look most profitable out of Smiley skiblo eye. He repeat of him as pious alios, 'cause he asked for shave and haircut. People said he'd shape of he-goat, where he was sheep of hairgot, with his tile togged. Top. Not true what chronicles is bringing his portmanteau preempt full potato words. Big dumb crumb digadiches, say short again actor. Even while assassinated by someone, he coxirum of penny silvers, offerings, bloodinages with candid zuckers on spinchesses walk in presence to lilthy maidenettes, for it blew his nose for him with pruriest polygamious inattentions. He having that pecuniary element spectacularly in Heather Cliff emergency on gale days because sufferent chronic from a plentitude of house torts. Colossal rodomantic, not worth one bronze life, Scholarina say as he, great vike cuddle puller, walk in her sleep his pig index wig 55 funts. Of so little is her time in trouse nest great for greeting his immenseness. Such sonnas set they were, her eyes as his holes. Killed vulch! How could one classically? One could not critically. In a nest lighting shaft only for love-a-lit smoke pipe, his mistress mere shame of cupric tresses, the form white feminine, the amber sandaled, after as Dr. Talop's onomotony lecture, a mish, holy balm of Saint Mary's. He is as good as a mountain, and everybody what is fond of his jades, he knew Maestral Vikingson, fur-framed Nordwogen's Kampften, with complexion of blushing dolomite fanned by Ozion breezes, what never saw his bed's head farer and never met his swigamore, have his ignominy from prima signation of being Master Milchko, queerest man in the benighted queendom, and, at craft ident, how he found the kids. Other accuse him as lochnicht forsunkener, dope in stock knob, all a melting malt after rheumatism, purely simply Tammy Ratkins. The curds of Copt on the Berberothers and their Bedouins. Even was she's hull bigheads off before all his nehers in the cold Bethesdael. No goods, not one sauce. They white liveried ragsups, 2 whales of the sea of deceit, they bloody blabstered shooters, 3 dromedaries of the sands of Calamdonia. As is not worthies to shock his hind. You're grieved on them. Such askers and their Ruperts they are putting in for more Orskirs is also false liarnels. The froken halted victims, whore affirm is against sempre lotta Carsons. They would lick their lenses before they would negatize a John Petter from his sodalities. In his contrary and unreality, which Bishop Babwith bears to his witness in his justification of Willemses, this Mr. Heer Assessor Nielsen of Sore State Hearing, diseased, formerly with adenoics, didn't feed all lighty, laxed lip great change of retiring family buckler, highly accurate in his everythinks, from 10 cents copal to bargain basement, live with household of number 7, wide awake, wound about, walking beds, weaklings, in black velvet on Georgian mission, sinest mangy gears his rear in the lane pictures, blanking same with autonaut and annexes, and got a darlinged baby boy bucktooth, the thick of a gobstick, coming on ever so nursely, graces to goodness, at 81. That's why all Park's up excited about his gun fodder. That's why a crazy Aztecs and the crime ministers preaching him mornings and make a power of spoon victuals out of his proverbs. That's why he, persona erecta, glycorau man arsenic for femornizer, for a trial by Julius, in celestial sun hat, with two purses agitating his theopot with walkabout shake, rather incoherent, from 1 to 18 to 118 bis, young shy gay youngs. Simply for infusing up pretty tipidities to lock up the rainbow daisies and be nice and 20 in the shade. Old grand tutut toucher up of young poetographies, and he turn around abrupt, read out frumpishly like here Sam her tuner for some make one noise. It's his last lap, gigantic, fair him wheel, revelation, a fact, true bill, by a jury of matrons, hump for humbleness, dump for dirts, and to make a long stony batter and a wholly show a perfect sight, his thing went the holy way right up suffragette straight. Help me it too, contrasta toga, his fiery ghost mother, loutsy toutsy, woman who did, he tell princes of the age about, you sound on me, judges. Suppose we brisken up. Kings, meet the mim, Evanlith, ulviviparous out of couple of lizards, she just as finny as he is Falger. How lat soever her latest still her sologs come up all standing. Sing a song of sex pians, a packer full of rhyme. His cheek mole of Aleph forever ever her Alenal, and his Quran never teached her the be the owner of thyself. So she not swap her Ekot for Howardin's castle, England, Wales, but be the alliance of Earn on his flamen vestacoat, the fibule of brooch bronze to his winter mantle of Pointe-a-Fox. Who not knows she, the Madame Cooley Cowley, spa wife to Laird of Manna, when first come into the pictures more as hundreds elskerelxes yards of annums call away, factory fresh and fuming at the mouth, wronged by whimwed dogget. McGrath McGreath, he takeable a rap for that early party. And whence forward Annie Mamma and her fierty bustles, terrified of mere gnomes of mountains and fury bound to be back in her mitten beddy. She frightened all souls at pign pugn and gets a pan in her stomach from the piala bellers in their poor war. Yet Jack dictating all around her about his poorliness due to panelism and grime, for that he harboured her when famous soul, her Zoravarn Lihord and Givner General, and led her in ancient consort room and bound her durant coverture, so as she could not steal from him, owes her or Daman, so as if ever she's believed by check and broth death, since both was parties to the feed, it's Hetman MacCumhall foots the funeral. Meanwhile she neutra him jacent from her Elmer's alms dish, giantor and stjene as seem as bebrondas with folly signors tenor romancy to fischel the ladywigs out of his logwags, like a skittering kitty scattering hyals, when his favourites were all beruffled on him and her own undesirables gesticulating. It was such a blowick day, windin wandin wild like winchin windin wanton. Though why, if he but would bite and plug his baccy pipes and renounce the devlins in all their pums and kip the steel workers out of the plague and nettles his milk from sickling the honeycomb and cop ulobobo selling faulty trepis, she would make massa diners with her savonnier dilinge and delicate her nut-brown glory cloac to Maid Berenice and hang herself in Ostman's town St. Megan's and make no more muley rage before Mahatmas or Mussulmans, but would undulate her sugar-loft hat from Aupolleri with Aviv Beselgia and Clamast Apotria like any purple cardinal's princess or woman of the grave word to papal legate from the Vachucum, Monsignor Robinson Crucis, with an ass of milk to his cowmate and chitterlings on account of all he quaquaduxed for the honor of Rome, and the nations abhorred him and whoop Mesuscudo to Sant Percy Aureli that gave Louis Marius Josephs their loyal devotees to be offered up misas for vouts for waiters. Here, O world without, tiny tattling, backwoods, be wary, dainty trees, go Dutch. But who comes yond with pyre on pole top? He who relights our spearing torch, the moon. Bring Lolev branches to mud cabins and peace to the tents of cedar, Neomany. The feast of Tuborniglers is at hand. Shop. In his fell! Temple tells the bells. In singaging a sang song, for awe and Onslusby. And the hag they dame name Coverfew hists from her lane. And haste, 'Tis time for bairns to hame. Chick-chalds, come ho to roo. Come home to roo, we chick-chalds do. When the wild war wolf's abroad. Ah, let's away and let's gay and let's stay shay where the log fire's burning. It darkles, tinct, tint. All this our phenomenal world. Yon marsh pond by Rudmark verge is visited by the tide. Ave Maria, we are circumveloped by obscuritads, man and Belvis Freeren. There is a wish on them to be not doing or anything, or just for rugs. Zucald, der, deaf, col leon and bzz, callas pyrus. Where is our highly honour-worthy salutable spouse Founderess? The foolish one of the family is within. Huzur, where's he? At house, 'twas pity, with Nancy hands. Chit-chi! Hound through the maze has fled. What how? Isegrim under lolling ears, far wool, and wheaten bells bide breathless. All, the trail of Gil not yet is to be seen. Rocks drops, up bin, down dell, a craggy road for rambling. Nor yet through starland that silver sash. What eras a-wearing? Lang gong late. Se long, cielo, silume, silo, Celine, cel o, amune. Ark? No? Naught stirs in Spinney. The swayful pathways of the dragonfly spider stay still in readery. Quiet takes back her folded fields. Tranquil thanks. Adieu. In dear haven, embraced, alleged, enjointed and unlatched, the birds, tomalize too, quail silent. Luethan? Nuethan! Was avond ear a while, now contesinum, as Lord the Leohun is shuts you eyes. The time of lying together will come, and the wildering of the nick till cockydoodle abens aurore. Panther monster, sind lebero loads amaro, while Luevdom sleeps. Elenfant has sung his triumph. Great is Elphias Magistrodontos, and after knee prayer pious for Behemoth and Mahamoth will rest him from Tusker toils. Salam salam. Rhino Horn is not so pig fellow, but him east guns worst. Kiki cookie. Hopopadorm. So beast. No chatter of beagles, frantling of peacocks, no muzzing of the camel, smuttering of apes. Lights, page boy, lights! Brights will be brights, with help of Hanokan's lamp. When otter leaps in outer parts, then Yul remembers May. Her hung-made moons are blooming. Look, to greet those lows on coast of amethyst. Arc glows seafire seamans, lure and wextward Warnerforth's hooker croakers. And now with Robbie Brerefox's fishy fable listened out, the threads somewhat torren and knots in its antargumens. The Paciolins in Liffietta's bowl have stopped squiggling about Juno and the Wulk and Ferry acquaintism and pebble infinibility and the poisson of the Hortley course. And if Luberhabenor laid his horker to the river, save the Gargaro and Dabberdin going on in his mount of knowledge, Munt, he would not hear a flip-flap in all Finnyland. Which man, watch of your night, es vos, es nos, not vos, jis, noun. It goes. It does not go. Dark parks a coo with sucking loves. Rosamund's by her wishing well. Soon Timpton twos will stroll at venture and hunt by threes, strut musketeering. Brace of girdles, brasse of boys, with the width of the way for jogjoy. Hulker's sacklest elbow nonsense. Hold hard! And his dithering waltzers of Strite! But meetings made not as forsen. Hesperons! And if you want to live moth, Wenderer, while Jimson's weed decks Jackson's island, here lurks Bar Helpel the bell, none iron welcome. Bing, bong, bang bong. Thunderation! You took with the mulligrubs and we lack mulsum. No, sorry, Bob! Great goodness, no! Were you merely Queen of Scots or but Christian the last? Our duty to you, Chris. Royalty, squat. How match your mark, though looked your Joel, Here's dapple-bellied mugs and trouble-bedded rooms and sawdust strewn in expectoration and for ratification by specification of your information, Mr. Knight, Tuntapster, Bottles, his elfroos up to his hip. And what's he like sees after all rinsings, and don't omiss Kate, home swab homely, put in with the bricks. A's the sign and one's the number. Where Chaviot Chaser calls the cup and Purum stands a stirrup. The old whiz beats the Kierkegaard. So who overcomes ever for whoopee weeks must put up with the jug and chambers. But heed! Our 30 minutes war's a lull. All's quiet on the felled of Gory. Between the Starfort and the Thornwood brass castle flams with mutton candles. Hushka! A horn! Kettle Magtug! God S.L.? Housefather calls in threateningly. From Brandenborgen Thor, et Esos Ardra, in thundercloud periwig, with lightning bug a flash from a finger. My souls and my jings, should he work his jaw to give down from the banks and hark from the tomb. Ansigoza pokes in her pot still to sauce at the sop, be sodden enow, and to hear all the bubbles be saying. The coming man, the future woman, the food that is to build, what he with 15 years will do, the ring in her mouth of joyous guard, stars astir and stir about. A palache for hers, a saucy for hers, and a ladle like spoons for the oner. But Eine and Twee were never worth 3, so they must have their finals since he's on parole. Et La Pau Leone has the choice of her lives between Josephinus and Mario Lewis for who is to wear the lily of Bohemy, Florestan, Thaddeus, Hardress, or Miles, and lead Raptivity captive. Ready! Like a fin at a fair. Now for La Bella. I see La Belle. The campus calls them. Ninan, the Gatling Gan. Childs will be wilds, 'twas told. And vamp, the girls are merchant. The horse show magnate draws his field, and don't the fillyings fly? Ejocande of Sorrento, they knew not know well their Vicos rode. Ranked in their array, and flocking for the fray on that old orange ray, Dolly Bray. For these are not on terms, they twain, Bartrossers, since their battle of Waterloos, when Adam left us and the devil took our hindmost, gifting her with his pain-apple, nor will not be atoned at all in fight to no finish. That dark deed doer, this well-willed wooer, jerk off and eat soup, yim or yan, while Felix is to Culpus does, and Harmsworth healing, and Brune is bad French for Jour d'Anneau. Tigers and tuggers, they're all for 10 zones. Bethlem braves, for she must walk out. And it must be with who? 'Tis for him. 'Twas for him. 'Twas for him. 2. Else there is danger of solitude. Post reintroducing Jeremy, the chaste not Coulter, the flowing tal that brooks no brooking runs on to say how, as it was mutilator foretold of him by a time killer to his spacemaker, Velos Ambos and Erebiat Knechts, with their tails within wheels and stucks between spokes, on the hike from Elm Street to Stane and back, running aways with the use of reason, 6, and ramming amuck at the break of his voice, 6. His laster halft was set for getting the bester hull of his Jungentugend, for control number thrice was operating the subliminal of his invaded personality. He nobit smurfy and go poultry and let all the tondo gankbulle del rofo. Barto no know him more. It larto altruis with most perfect stranger. Boo, you're through.
Who? I'm true.
Min, tikana tea simmering. Hamo mavron carry o? Teapotty. Teapotty. God knows. Anything ruined. Meaningless. He wept in Diterum. With such a tooth he seemed to love his wee tart when a boy. Highly ma morning he see the before him, melaned from nape to kneecap, though vied from her girders up. Holy Sant'Alto, cursing saint, sight most delicious to roast up the spy balls like exode of Margery, and how him it heavied that Irem roast. And they bear falls witless against thee, how slight becomes a hidden wound. Sold water he wash him all time big feller bruisey place blunk him. He no want Mrs. Blunk all boy other look bruisey place blunk him. Hints. It will painteth the chaste not in that whereof his wince he had loseth his once for every, even though mode grow more and more menorich and the terror boom decay. Immaculacy, give but to drink to his shirt, and all scourges must change her tunics. So ward he from first to last, for band and betweenly, a smuggler for lifer. Lift the blank wie verdes heil, split the wide and eye sees heaven. He knows, for he's seen it in black and white through his eye trumpet, trained upon genies and all that sort of thing which is dandymount to a clear obscure. Pretty maid tints may try their taunts. Apple, Bacante, custard, dove, Eskimo, Feldgrau, hematite, isinglass, jet, caper, lucille, mimosa, nut, oysterette, prune, quasimodo, royal, sago, tango, umber, vanilla, wisteria, x-ray, yes please, zaza, philomel, 3 rows. What are they all by? She. If you nude her in her prime, make sure you find her complimentary, or, on your very first occasion, by Angus Dagderson and all his picayunes, she'll prick you where you're proudest with her unsat spiegel eye. Look sharp, she's signalling from among the asters. Turn again, wistful tone, Lord Mere of Doubtlin. Arise, land under wave, clap your lingua to your palate, drop your jowl with a jolt, tambourine until your breath slides, pet a pout and it's out. Have you got me, Alice Loper? My top it was brought acres low, my middle I ope before you, my bottom's a vulsar if ever they're valsed, and my hull the flower that stars the day and is solely well worth your pelger's fart. Where there's a hitch ahead of things, let Hinker's halter hang the halunkenend. For I see through your weapon, that cries not cuculus, and his eyelids are painted. If my tutor here is cut out for an old bar, I'm flow, shy of peeps, you know. But when he beetles backward, ain't I fly? Pull the bo pea to see how we sleep. Be peep, peepet. Would you like that lump of a tongue for luncheon or this turkey's delighter, his hyphen meese? My belly swain's a 12 Woolworth's power, though he knows as much how to man a wife as Duncle Dalton of Matching Wools. Shake hands through the thicket look. Sweet swan water, my other is mouth filled. This kissing wool's full of killing fellows, kneeling voyantly to the cope of heaven. And somebody's coming, I feel for effect. I've a secret to sell thee if old Dians won't be thracepanning. When you'll next have the mind to retire to be wicked, this is as dainty a way as any. Underwoods spell bushman's business. So if you sprig poplar, you're bound to twig this. 'Twas my lord of Glendalough benedicted the gape for me that time at long entry, commanding the approaches to my intimast innermost. Look how they're brothered! 6 13s at Blanche de Blanches of 3 Behind Street and 2 Turnagain Lane. Awabeg is my call by, Magnus here's my max. Wonder One's my cipher, and 7 Sisters is my nightbrood. Radoga, Rab, will ye not pick them in their pink of panties? You can colour up till you're prawn while I go squirt with any cockle, when here who adults me in Fuchs's sleep. But if this could see me with its backside, he'd be the grand old green-eyed lobster. He's my first view mark since Valentine. Winks the winning word. Luck! In the house of breathings lies that word, all fairness. The walls are of Rubenin and the glitter gates of elfin bone. The roof hereof is of massicious jasper, and a canopy of Tyrian awning rises and still descends to it. A grape cluster of lights hangs there beneath, and all the house is filled with the breathings of her fairness. The fairness of fondants, and the fairness of milk and rhubarb, and the fairness of roasted meats, and Unio Margarets, and the fairness of promise with consonantia and vowels. There lies her word, you rather! The height hereup exalts it, and the lowness her down abaseth it. It vibroverberates upon the tegmen and prosplodes from Pomoeria. A widow, a hedge, a prong, a hand, an eye, a sign, a head, and keep your other augur on her pepepe. And you have it, old Sim, Pat is seated. And Sonny, my gander, he's coming to land her, the boy which she now adores. She doors. Oh, back to von dem Zog! Make weg for their tug. With a ring-ding-dong, they raise clasped hands and advance more steps to retire to the Somme. Curtsy one, curtsy two, with arms akimbo, devotees. Irrelevance. All sing. I rose up one maple morning and saw in my glass how nobody loves me but you. Ugh, ugh. All point in the shim direction as if to shun. My name is Misha Misha, but call me Toffee Toff. I mean Metin Choch. It was her, by the boy that was loft in the lurch. Ugh, ugh. Her reverence. All laugh. They pretend to help while they simply shouted at him so's to make him preach. And it is not cricket, Sally Lums. Not by ever such a lot. 29s of groomers gagging in man arose. Avis was there and trilled her about it. She's her sex, for certain. So to celebrate the occasion. Willest thou Rossi Banders have ant? He simules to be tight in ribbings round his rumpfkorf. Are you swart hunts that's hit on a shorn style? He makes semblant to be swiping their chimblies. Can you adjure for scheidem? He finds to be cutting up with a pair of scissors and to be bitings of their maidens and spitting their heads into their face pails. Speak spoke. Spoken. So now be hushy, little pukers, side here ruhish, cleany fogglers, grandicellis, I'll stay zeti, altaltura, rest as before, for you've jolly welly dawdled all the day. When you coif tant uncle's hat, then it'll be largely timps for that. Yet's the time for being now. For a burning world is to come to dancing in. Glamours hath moidered's libe, and herefore Kuldars must leap no more. Lack breath must leap no more. Lulls for libelman libeling his lore. Lullo labourman you loved to be leaving Libnius. Lift your right to your liber lord. Link your left to your lass of liberty. La, labourman, your lips but a loop to lee. A fork of hazel o'er the field invokes the vervain virgin's ode. If you cross this rood as you roamed the rand, I'm blessed, but you'd feel him a blasting rod. Behind me, freeze from evil smells, perdition stinks before us. Agatharept they flurally to Nibno's will and Rosacal. Twice is he gone to quest of her, thrice is she now to him. So see we saw as seed we saw, and their prunked queen kilt her kirtles up and set out, and her trop came healing, oh. And what do you think that pride was dressed in? Vulikin's diamond Dinah's vestin. For ever they sent where'er she went, while all the fun's flowers widens wild to see a floral's school. Led by Lignifer, in 4 hoops of the happiest, Akbeth Kakduf, a marrer of the sward incoronate, the few fly the far between. We hal miny money on that piebald nig. Will any double dabble on the bay, nor far Jacobus, Nick for Jay? A tatty lad, get up, Goth scourge on you. There's a visitation in your impluvium. Hun. He standth there's mun in his natural, oblius autumnasiacally of his very proprium, such is Stockpot laden, so did Sonsipon crake. The want to be wanton made a will to be wise. Thrust from the light, apophoto rejected, he spores loves from her heats. He blinks. But wrath's the higher where those wreathe charity, for all of these have been this worlders, time liquescing into state, pitiless age grows angelhood. Though, as he stays, most anything may befall him, from a song of a witch to the totter of blackguards, given a famished devil, a young sorceress, and, eternal conjunction, the permission of overalls with the cooperation of nightshirt. If he spies east, he seethes in sooth, and if he pierce north, he wilts in the west. And what wonder with the Mercury vice-head in the shade? The specks on his lapspan are his foul deed thoughts, wish-marks of mad imagination. Take thee off, make thee off, but funny legs are leanly. Oh, bim-bam-bum! They vain would convert thee to be hers in the word. Gush they would, gash their fair ripe cherry. As for she could shake him, An oaf, no more. Still he'd be good tutor too, in his big armchair learning stool, and she be waxen in his hands, turning up and fingering over the most tantalizing pages in the longerous book of the dark. Look at this passage about Galileato. I know it is difficult, but when you're gushy I go dead. Turn now to this patch upon Smakshiavaluti. Sutalors, he's sure to spot it. 'Twas ever so in monetarology since Headmaster Adam became Everhard his toucher, in omnibus moribus et temporibus. With man's mischief in his mind whilst your pupils swimmed to heaven lies, let his be exasperated, letters be blowed. I is a feminine person. Oh, of provocative gender, you unisingular case. Which is why trumpers are mixed up in duels, and here's be Rohan meets in Outland for the prize of a thou. But listen to the mocking bird, to micking bird making bird. We've heard it aye since Songdom was Jimmermal. As he was queering his shoulders, so was I. And as I was cleansing my falsies, so was he. And as we were puffing our blowbags, so were you. Come, thrust, go, parry, divine brethren, dare! The mad long ramp of mankind's parliaments, the learned lack learning, merciless as wonderful. Now may Saint Moe of the pleasant green be your everglass and even prospect. Feeling dank, exchange, reverse. And may Saint Jerome of the harlot's curse make family three of you, which is much a better. Grassy ass ago. And each was wrought with his other, and his countenance fell. The bivetlines, Metellus and Ametallicos, her crown pretenders, obscene-minded bikerers, varying directly, Urusai each ox's other, superfetated. Never cleaner of lamps frowned fiercelier on anointer of hinges, while their tree-grown girls, king's game, if he deign so, are in such transfusion just to know twixt timidity tomies, for gracious sake, who is orthodox from whose heterotropic, the sleepy or the glosh, for shyly born and surely nurtured, exceedingly nice girls can't strike exceedingly bad times unless so richly chosen by. What though of riches he have none, and hope dashes hope on his heart's horizon, to guard their great moments greater. The thing is he must be put straight on the spot. No mere water-stitchy stuff in a self-made world that you can't believe a word he's written in. Not for pie, but one's only owned by natural rejection. Charlie, you're my darling. So sing they sequent the ascent of man, till they go round if they go round again before break parts and all dismissed. They keep, step, stop. Who is Fleur? Where is Ange? Or Gardon? Creedless, croonless hangs his haughty. There ain't no more red devil in the white of his eye. Braglodite him do a catadope, a condam quondam jontum sick of a sick but. He does not know how his grandson's grandson will stammer up in Peruvian, for in the arabesque idiom I have done it equals I so shall do. He dares not think why the grandmother of his grandmother's grandmother coughed Ruski with suchly husky accent, since in the mouthheart of the slough of it look at me now means I was once otherwise. Nor that the Mappamund has been changing pattern as youth plays moves from street to street, since times and races were, and wise ants hoarded and sauterelles were spendthrifts. No thing making new thing whithersoever for a silly old soul, healthy to better and late wiser. Nor that the turtling of a London's alderman is ladled out by the waggerful to the regionals of Pygmyland. His part should say in honour bound. So help me smite you, Samark, Seluk and Sengen, I will stick to you, by gum, no matter what, bite Simbum, and in case of the event coming off beforehand, even so was to release me for the sake of the other cheap girl's baby's name, plaster me, but I will pluckily well pull on the buckskin gloves. But Nudie Nady's actual ingrate tootle is of come into the Garner Move and thy nice are stores of mourning and buy me a bunch of iodines. Evidentement he has failed as tersely as the deuce before she is wearing none of the three. And quite as patently there is a hole in the ballot troll which the rest fell out. Because to explain why the residue is, was, or will not be, according to the eighth axiom, proceeded with, namely, since ever apart that gossen duad, so sure as there's a patch on a pomelo, this yam-ham in it never live could. The shifting about of the lassies, the tug of love of their lads ending with a great deal of merriment, hoots, screams, scarf drill, cap fecking, ejaculations of orinos, ritual mirth peals, and general thumb-to-nosery. Miam as a yang country. One must reckon with the sudden and gigantesque appearance unwithstandable as a general election in Barnardo's bearskin amongst the broad middle of this village childergarten of the largely long-suffering Laird of Lokenhof. But, vray de vray, blank de blank, god of all machineries and tombstone of Barnstaple, by mortisection or vivissuture, splitten up or recompounded, an Isaac Jacoman Moro Milesian, how accountables for him, morbleu? Was he pitched for an ensimple as certain have dog-nosed of him against our sea-wall by Rory, Thoth, and Cleaver, those three stout swinehearts, Orion of the Orgiasts, Mirashal Macmohon, the Ipsidaden, product of the extremes giving quotidians to our means, as might occur to anyone, your brutest layman with the princest champion in our archdeaconry, or so ye clipped from Cleo's clippings, which the cruncher of chivalries is sulpicious save he scanned, for ancients link with presence as the human chain extends, have done, do, and will again as John Polycarp and Irenews eye to eye witnessed, and to Paddy Palmer, while monks sell you to archers or the water of the levying goes the way of all fish from Sarah's drawhead, the quarrelsome, to Isaac's, the loft but one, with her minilisp exterior to his monoloth inturned. So Perachon with Bastion or heavy humph with Eri Nan, Rickerack Brimbilly Jicky Jogjolicus? How sawest thou, Dulcis Amica? And Abu Abiad, a Babel min dub gulch of tears. The mar of murmury murmurs to the mind's ear, uncharted rock, evasive weed. Only the cowl knows his 1001st name. Hocus crocus esquilocus, fin the faineant, how feel full foes in Ferenard. Doth it not all come aft to you, purity snooper, in the way television opes long times after when Ptolemuk Soter or Sordanapolis the Lollapalooza? The charges are, you will remember. The chances are, you won't. Bit it's old Joe, the Java Jane, older even than Odom Costello, and we are recurrently meeting him, Parmahun mesme, in cycloanalysis, from space to space, time after time, in various phases of scripture as in various poses of sepulture. Great God, groceries! Mirodak! Defend the king! Hot of the rough throat attack, but whose say is soft, but whose e has a cute angle, he whose hut is a hisarlik, even as her hinens aspire. And incidentally, she's a kind of selm a shaker, while as a murder of corpse when his maggots up, he's the best barathon sanger in all the isles of Scandinavia. As who shall hear? For now at last is Longabed going to be gone to, that more than man, Prince of Bunicum of wide roadsteads, the herb lord the gilly flowerets so fan to flatter about. Artho is the name is on the hero, Capelli Sato, shoe-handed slaughterer of the shader of our leaves. Attached to him! Hold! Yet stir thee, to clay, Tamor. Why wilt thou irwaken him from his earth, O summoner other? He is weather-bitten from the dusts of ages. The hour of his closing hies to hand, the tocsin that shall claxonize his whereabouts. If one who remembered his web goods and tea-lofts were to ask of a hooper for whose it was the storks were quitting Aquilaria, this trundler would not wot. If other who joined faith when his depth charge bombed our barrel spillway were to... Jehoshaphat, what doom is here? Rain ruth on them, sire. The wing of Moikil cover him. The Buljon boss brute guarantee him. Calavera, caution, slaves to virtue, save his veritotum. Berara Toliaris, Procala bit, the Ivor Bunguller of Danimarca be, his Hector protector, Woldemar with Vasa, peel your peeps, and try to saviorize the Knights of Labour to the order of our blooding world. While Pliny the Younger writes to Pliny the Elder his Calamulaman of Contumelas, what Aulus Gellius picked on Mick Macrobius, and what Vitruvius pocketed from Cassiodorus. like we learnt from that book of Lucan in Dublin's capital, Kungdam Cum. Even if you are the cooper of the Winkle, over measure never lost a licence, nor a duck and don't you develops from hath and breakfast. And for the honour of alcohol, drop that you know what I've come about, I saw your act, Punch may be pottle proud, but his Judy's a wife's wit better. For the producer, Mr. John Baptista Vicar, caused a deep abuliousness to descend upon the father of truants, and, at a side issue, Pluter promptly brought on the scene the cutlet-sized consort, foundling filly of 40-shilling Foster Taylor and shipman's Shoppahoyden, weighing 10 pebble 10, scaling 5 footsie 5 and spanning 37 inchettes round the good companions, 39 ditties round the wishful wastress, 37 alsos round the answer to everything, 23 of the same round each of the quiz separabits, 14 round the beginning of happiness, and nicely 9 round her should for slender. And eher you could pray mercy to goodness or help with your hokey or me hokey poo. Gallas's hen has collared her pullets. That's where they have Aurelias for, their bone of contention, flesh to their thorns, pressed as prestissima, makes often a thinkling. And not one hen only, nor 2 hens neither, but every blessed bridge came a-clucking and a-clacking. While, a rum, the ram of all horns, beer, vision, spirituosen for consumption on the premises, advocate withouten platers, mass merit, pass polit, ras rudest of all, though flamma stoned from galante flowers, is hued and cried of each's colour. Home I'll go, hallom, blare no more rams blares, Odmund barks, and cease your fumings, kind old bushies, and sherry goldies ye assy McNice. Your Wildishaw show moves swiftly sternward, for hear the holy language, soon's to come, to pause. 'Tis good, at best. For they are now tearing, that is, tirtor returning. Too soon are coming tas books and goody, hominy bread and Bible be, with jaggery yo to juju jaw, finds French phrases from the Grandmere des Grammaires, and bothered pear snaps from the 4 Massors, Matatius, Marusius, Lucanius, Jocenius. And what happened to our 11 and 32 antipost dating the vulgar ire, and why is limbo, where is he, and what are the sound waves saying ceased ere they all weighed wrong, and amnest anguished axes collis, and where Fishingaman fetched the monga fish from, and what for Paddybird not please Rancoon, and why was Sindat seething on him sitbom like a soldier, with what the dock did in the Doyle, not to mention define the hydraulics of common salt, and its denier cred of old Provence, where GPO is Zentrum and DUTC are radiant right down by the frequency of the scores and crores of your refractions, the valuations in the pice of dingyings on NCR and SCR. That little cloud, a nebulisa, still hangs the sky. Singabed sulks before slumber. Light at night has an Alps on his druk house. Thick head and thin butter, or after you with me. Caspi, but Gueralig stings the air. Gay legs to riot of us, gallocks to laughed. What is a maid today to do? So angel and all weeping bin that easy most unhappy is. Fain essi fi unhappy, laughs her Stella's whispering. While, running about their ways, going and coming, now at Rimba Romba, now in Trapeza Trapaza, pleating a pattern grand geometron showed them of gracehoppers, ant-skippers, and coniform lepers. They jeerilide along, Durian Grey and Marian Maidcap, Lou Dario beside La Matieto, all boy more all girls sing out feller lunga house blong store hoodie, whilst nin 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 that Borman's clock, a whinny on the tinny side, nin 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 nin, about old Father Barley, how he got up of a morning early, and he met with a platinum blondes named Heaps and Haws, and fell in with a fellows of Trinity, some header Skullwood Shaws, like, you'll catch it, don't fret, Mrs. Tommy Lupton, come indoor, scoffy nosy, and shed your swank. Old Daddy Deacon, who could stow well his place of bacon, but he never could hold his kerosene's candle to. The nurse'll give it to you, sticky pots, and you wait, my lasso, fecking the twine. Bold farmer Burley, who woke up in a hurly-whirly where he hardly could waddle to wallow his wig till bag of the baker's booth to beg of. You're well held now, Missy Cheekspeare, and your panto's off. Fie for shame, Ruth Wheatacre, after all the booze said. Ild de diddy aching for the prize of a piece of bacon with a pinch of the panch of the punch and juries for. Ah, crab eyes, I have you, showing off to the world with that gape in your stocking. Wold Forester Farley, who, in desperation of desperation at the diasporation of his desperation, was found of the round of the sound of the lound of the... Lucador in den ander ascudailo schufer moi porter turi zues falne borten sporthauk ansak roidvars kapak kapok. Beifall. Applaud! The play thou shalt burgst. Game here endeth. The curtain drops by deep request. Applauder am ein! Gun the gods, gunners ghost spells. Win the edge, who the who, how the who, where the whoer. Orbiter answers, lots lives lost. Fionia is fed up with Fidge Fudgesons, Sealand snores. Rindning rocks, rogues reckoning rains. Goods with gurs are gitterdembrung. The timid hearts of words, all axiom nocent. Managad, lemalelo, how do that come? By dad, you'd not heed that furt? Vulgitudes, agist rodan and tonat. Quook! And bunksclidoodle, kadoosh! Of their fear they broke. They ate wind, they fled. Where they ate, there they fled. Of their fear they fled, they broke away. Go to, let us extol Azrael with our harks, by our brews on our jamses in his gates. To Mazosalem with the Nephilim did its dinkons dud. Yip! Yup! Yura! And let Neculon extol Mac-Macal, and let him say unto him, Ime ame sime, and shall not Babel be with Lebab? And he war. And he shall open his mouth and answer, I hear, O Ishmael, how thy laud is only as my loud is one. If Neculon shall be havenfold, surely Macal haven heavens. Go to, let us extol Macal, yea, let us exceedingly extol. Though you have lain among your postpots, my excellency is over Ismael. Great is him who is over Ismael, and he shall make a neck of Macnaculon. And he did. Applauder a mine again! For the clearer of the air from on high has spoken in tumbledum tambledum to his timbledin tumbledum world, and mogiophanoised by that phonemanon, the inhabitants of the earth have terror rumbled from firmament unto fundament, and from tweedledee-doms down to tweedledee-dees. Loud, hear us! Loud, graciously hear us! Now have thy children entered into their habitations, and nation glad, camp meeting over, to Shinnet, Gov be thanked! Thou hast closed the portals of the habitations of thy children, and thou hast set thy guards thereby, even Garda Dedimos and Garda Domas, that thy children may read in the book of the opening of the mind to light, and err not in the darkness which is the afterthought of thy no matter with the guardians of those guards which are thy bodemen, the cheery both with the carry bombers in their crew beams. Pray your prayers, Timothy, and back to Bunk Tom. Till tree from tree, tree among trees, tree over tree becomes stone to stone, stone between stones, stone under stone forever. O loud, hear the wee beseech of each of these thy unlitten ones, grant sleep in hours time, O loud! That they take no chill, that they do ming no murder, that they shall not gomit mad Howiatries. Loud, heap miseries upon us, yet entwine our arts with laughter's low. Ha-hi-hi-ho-ho. Mum-mum.